Alex Answer here. I want to follow up my thoughts from the other day regarding the man being cited by the county in Nevada. If we're to talk about real solutions to homelessness, we need to talk about what's happening with off-the-grid living. And so I'm going to stay on this particular topic because it's easy for people to complain about property values when they're living in the city and they're living in an urban area and they're looking at how they're immediately affected. And a lot of people don't want to do the work that's necessary. They don't want to be involved. They don't want to know too much. They don't want to be depressed. They just want to think about what they perceive to be spirituality and happiness. But the greater reality is there are factors and conditions that are leading to more people living in their vehicles across this nation. And the travesty is where the people haven't come together to create spaces for people that are willing to help themselves. And it isn't difficult, it's actually easy in this modern day of technology and drug tests to separate those that are on hardcore drugs from people that aren't on hardcore drugs. And society's also changed in how it's chosen to view particular things like cannabis consumption. We'd have to actually go back 30 years, 40 years to be stuck into a mindset, maybe not that much in some areas. Some people still are stuck into a mindset that's the same thing as being a heroin junkie. But the greater reality is our economy is in dire straits. And approaching 22 trillion in debt, the people in this nation are not prepared for massive joblessness, homelessness, nor is it prepared for a major emergency where all different types of people in all different types of economic circumstances with all different types of vehicular problems, this country isn't prepared for a lot of people to be on the freeways. This country is even less prepared for a situation where if they were to get on the freeways and there was to be a fire or some sort of blockage of the road, most people wouldn't be prepared to even tent outside their car, much less grab and go. And by the way, the fire risks are absolutely astronomical at this time for Southwest Colorado, including the county that I'm in, but not limited to the point where if there was a fire, for example, where I live in the hills, I may have to evacuate on private property by foot with a backpack only because there's only one or two roads in and out, and that's through many, many trees. So a major forest fire could cause a disturbance, and because I don't have any allies in my immediate community, I would be on my own. You know, I think that if I had certain things delivered to me on a silver platter, either through my parents or others, that I would have had a different life. But having an easier life doesn't necessarily make us more competent people. As I was saying before in a recent video, there are people that were given quite a bit from their parents that lived through the World War II generation. And a lot of that wealth that was passed over was squandered. It wasn't just the modern economic realities and situations. It's the fact that there are generations that didn't have to work as hard because certain things were given to them. And so when someone really does have to work hard or is thrust into a situation where no one's there for them on an economic level or even to catch them when they fall, those people that fall, they have to pick themselves up and maybe make a decision, a hard decision. For me, it was leaving my TV show in Portland, Oregon and opting for a more affordable off-grid way of life, and the seeds were planted years ago before it became a reality. And it's like sometimes we need to fall or hit a bottom or reach a certain level of hardship before we're willing to do the work. Before we're willing to do what needs to be necessary. Before we're willing to face that isolation. And so someone for myself, I look at things that are challenging and I may not enjoy them at the moment. I might even protest those particular people, places, and things and challenges. But the greater reality is it's made me, helped me become more adaptable. When I think about those home-free months, that together, all 12 months, equated to 1 year, living in a vehicle in the Portland, Oregon area, it helped set me free from the society. It helped me understand elements of the society. It helped me understand needless judgment. It's also helped me and some of the challenges that I faced and judgments, stay away from some judgments of others. And it's easier for people to do that when they're taught certain things by the media, by the social norms, by the peer pressure. Maybe it's only when someone rejects the mainstream, rejects the peer pressure, rejects even the mainline talking points, the alternative media. It's only when someone rejects those mainline schools of thought that they find themselves, that they find their own freedom. And so, bringing this to our conversation about homelessness, there are even people within the alternative media that don't understand it. They may know things regarding economic collapse, but they may have a political slant, be it left or right, that continues to cloud them from the greater reality of that which is, regardless of who's in power, every 4 to 8 years. A lot of people don't understand this concept. They think it's conspiratorial. But the system, in and of itself, is not designed the people to help the people. From what I can tell and from what I've seen, from what I've heard, they want people applying for welfare and to continue to extend the national debt. But they don't want people living self-sufficiently on their own land. They'll talk about carbon footprint. They'll talk about global warming. They'll talk about things to guilt trip people and to pass through certain measures. But when it comes to, like, well, what about someone actually stepping back from even needing to use heavy fossil fuels and the grid for certain things? Do they support that? Do liberals and leftists in some of these urban areas like Portland, Oregon actually support, right, a national movement that would loosen up regulations that keep forcing people back into these urban areas and eventually into homelessness? So my question to you is, and the rest of America, how bad do things have to get before people, put down their gang colors? Kind of like the Crips and the Bloods, gonna put down their weapons, gonna put down their AKs, gonna put down their yo-yo, gonna put down, those needless differences and go, how are we gonna come together on the issues that matter? Do we know how this is going to happen? Is this going to happen? Is it even in the nature of the current society for Democrats and Republicans to put aside their own hatred of each other and perceived differences in ethnicity in some cases and actually have an adult conversation about what's going on? They don't necessarily have to take it to the level of Agenda 21, but at some point we have to have an adult conversation about what's taking place. During the Great Depression, 90% lived off the land, and now over 90%, we're probably moving into the 95% area, are living in urban environments. All because of land use codes, and all because of greed, all because of homeowners associations. And you would think that in a nation of higher education and things of that nature, libraries and books and the internet, that people would wake up one day and realize there are actually reasons why there's a lot of homeless. There's actually reasons why people are living in their cars. There's actually reasons why, and the answer isn't a whole bunch of heroin addicts. The answer isn't marijuana. The answer isn't crack. You can only use that as an excuse for a certain percentage of those that are homeless or living in their vehicles. But at some point, people that were previously never homeless and never jobless may immediately be thrust into that type of reality. And I think at some point in the future, regular Americans that used to point their friggin' finger at others may be asking for help. That help could be asked for in a number of ways, right? From asking people online, will it be a better place to relocate to or to live off-grid in privacy for them and theirs? But ultimately, when we live our entire lives only focused on ourselves and our own gain, what happens to the whole? What I got to see early on, and it shocked me, and it troubled me, and it changed how I viewed things. But I saw how few people cared about what I covered a few years ago in Costilla County, how little it mattered, how angry it made people, how many trolls it attracted to my channel, and interesting individuals that do not have positive intentions towards those that want to shed on a light on issues like this. There's also a lot of drama around it. People might feed on the drama of people being kicked off their land and say that they care, but actually do nothing to actually join the movement, to actually help those of us that have tried to shine the light on certain things. And the nature of this society is dog eat dog. If somebody accomplishes something, if somebody achieves something, if somebody escapes, right, a prison-like environment or a ghetto, there's going to be people that are going to hate on the individual because of what they accomplished, their freedom-based lifestyle. And I've talked about this in previous videos, and we'll continue to talk about the prison psychology and how it's affecting us even in society, the world without bars or the prison without bars. But at some point, America has to come to terms with the homelessness epidemic. At some point, news reporters in major cities that are doing reports on the homeless need to have an adult conversation and go, there are rules and regulations. We may not be able to change them. They could say, the reporter could say. However, the rules and regulations that are currently in place, as well as the cost of living, as well as the loss of jobs, as well as other issues that are causing mental health crises within the United States, all of those issues and more are causing more and more homeless to pop up everywhere throughout this country. At some point, right, people that are educated, people that are in the media, people that are in government officials, people that are in office, they're going to have to see it. There are solutions other than jails, other than institutions, other than more tax dollars, more welfare dollars to fix the problem. So the only solution is greater human consciousness, greater human compassion, greater human innovation that can see that there are resources out there that can help people, but welfare isn't the way to go, right? Compassion is the way to go. Upgrading land use codes is the way to go. No longer prohibiting people from trying to live alongside nature just like our ancestors did is the way to go.